Hi everyone, I'm Tanaz from foreverconscious.com and this is your monthly cosmic forecast for September 2021. If you've been following my channel for a while, you will know I've been doing weekly forecasts, but I am currently expecting in early October, and so I am now doing monthly forecasts just to kind of narrow down my workload a little bit. Hopefully you will be able to work with this monthly forecast all through the month. So I encourage you to keep coming back, checking in, and checking in on what the energies are so you can kind of keep ahead of the month, and hopefully sort of this forecast helps you to create your own connections with the cosmic energies and to kind of just help you make sense of what you might be picking up and what you might be feeling in the collective energies as we work through the month of September. So I feel like I cannot talk about September without talking about October and November. October and November are two very busy, maybe intense, high energy months. There's a lot happening. There are so many energy shifts in October, and then by the time we get to November, we're back into eclipse season, and eclipse season is always bringing transformation. They're pivotal transformation points in the year. So October and November, a lot of cosmic changes. September, not so much. It is a little bit quieter. However, if you are sensitive to the cosmic energies, if you're sensitive to the collective energies, you may be starting to feel a little rumble, a little sense of something's coming. I can feel the change in the air. I can sense that there is shift coming. I can sense there is transformation coming in our cosmic skies. And we all feel this differently, right? So I'm talking about the collective energies. Of course, we each have our own energetic vibration, and that kind of matches with what's happening in our cosmic skies. And so you might feel this differently. Everyone's match is a little bit different. Everyone sort of interprets the energies a bit differently, but you might start feeling that sense of, okay, October, November, lots of changes, lots of cosmic shifts. I like to think of September as the rubber band being pulled back on itself. We're in that pulling back phase. And then as we get into October, it's like, boom, the rubber band takes flight. And so in that pulling back phase, we might feel ourselves naturally revisiting things, or needing to take pause, or feeling like, life, a couple of things in our life is up in the air. We don't really know where it's gonna land. That is very much sort of September in a nutshell. As we get to the end of the month and we experience the equinox, which I'll talk about in a minute, we'll then start to feel like, okay, the release point is coming, the shifts are coming, and then we'll move through October, November with all those eclipses and bigger energy shifts. So September is kind of a quiet month in comparison, but you might just be feeling that rumbling. So while it's a quiet month, it's a great month to focus on self-care, on building yourself up, on nourishment. We enter this month under the sign of Virgo. The sun is in the sign of Virgo, a very grounded, earthy sign that helps us to get things done, get organized, clear the clutter. All of that is fantastic Virgo, a fantastic way to use Virgo energy. Virgo also helps us return to a state of wholeness and knowing that we are whole. And we get a nice big dose of Virgo energy on September the 6th. This is the new moon in the sign of Virgo. So that's September 6th. The new moon will fall in Virgo. So pretty much all through the first week of September, up until that 6th new moon, we'll be feeling that build up of energy heading towards the new moon. Sorry, did I say full moon? I meant new moon. So September 6th is the new moon in the sign of Virgo. So all through that first week, we'll be feeling the build up of energy into the new moon. So we can use this energy to ground, to center ourselves. I will tell you that this Virgo new moon carries a lot of up and down energy. It feels really all over the place. It's kind of like what I call a mixed bag of tricks. I don't really know how it's going to show up because there's so much going on. There's so many different peaks and valleys when I tune in and connect to the energies behind this new moon. So that's where this Virgo, earthy, grounded energy will really help us. Trying to stay in your center, trying to stay rooted to your mind, body, and soul, and present. You know, grounding helps us to sort of be present in whatever is happening around us. So there are a couple of things unfolding with this new moon, which we'll be feeling in the first week of September. And one of the big kind of themes that are attached to this new moon is ancestral healing. And this is due to the presence of a particular asteroid. And if you want to know more and you want to read deeper about this asteroid, check out foreverconscious.com on my Virgo new moon forecast write-up, because I'll go into more detail about it there. But essentially, this asteroid is helping us to heal and break generational cycles or ancestral wounds or traumatic wounds that we don't necessarily create. They're stuff that we inherit either from our soul family or from our, lineage, or even from the land that we choose to reside on, that we feel connected to. Even though these generational cycles that we're being called to break or end are doing, they can end with us. We can be the ones to put a stop to it for future generations and for the future collective. So you might notice that coming up. If you've been doing some inner child work, or you want to do some inner child work, this new moon is a fantastic time for that. And it's really also a good time, if that sounds a little bit too like, inner child work, because it can be very intense, inner child work, and thinking about our ancestral and generational traumas, that's definitely not light energy to delve into. Just thinking about ways that you can be a support to yourself, or ways that you can reach out to others for support. What do you need to feel supported? What do you need to feel whole? You can even just start as simple as that. Or if you really feel cold, there is wonderful energy under this new moon for inner child healing. And like I said, breaking and ending, or even coming into a greater awareness of some of those generational cycles that we don't want to keep perpetuating. To help you with this, I have a ritual. You'll have to kind of just keep updated and checking foreverconscious.com. I usually have the ritual out about a week before the new moon. So check that out. Keep an eye out for that ritual. It will help you move through some inner child healing. The ritual is very, very gentle, but it's designed to help you bring some love and support to your inner child. So check that out if you want some guidance under that new moon. So like I said, it is a mixed energy. We've got this very sort of intense pathway that we can take under this new moon of heading into understanding our inner child a little bit more. But there's another pathway with this new moon too, and it's actually a little bit of a lightness. It's a little bit of that desire to seek adventure, to venture out of our comfort zones, to try new things, to think about stuff that we want to do and going out there and doing it. There's that lighter energy attached to this new moon too. Neither is a worse path. It's just whatever you feel like you're gravitating towards. Maybe you'll feel a little bit of both. Maybe you'll feel that lightness and that sense of adventure. Maybe you'll also feel that intensity and that need to heal. That's why I'm saying this new moon just feels like a mixed bag. And, when that happens, we just kind of have to connect in, listen, pay attention, and do what really resonates in our own hearts. The next day, so after this new moon, so we're still in this first week of September, on the 7th, Mercury will enter its shadow phase. And this is the phase that Mercury enters right before it goes retrograde. Mercury will retrograde at the end of the month. When Mercury enters its shadow phase, it begins to slow down, preparing to go retrograde. And I'll talk more about that as we get to the end of the month, because that's when it happens. But Mercury will start to slow down. In this slowdown phase, it's really important to start to pay attention to what you want to get off you, what's on your plate already. It's a time to think, okay, I don't really want to add anything new. I don't really want to I want to just focus on what's already on my plate. So what do I want to get done? What do I want to put on my plate? This is the time for you to think about that. And with that new moon just a day before, new moons are always a good time to set intentions. Set your intentions and try and have them done before the 7th, and then focus on that. That's just going to be your focus, because as Mercury goes retrograde at the end of the month, it gets harder to come up with clear ideas about what new things we want to bring in. I'll touch more on that as we get into Mercury retrograde, but just want to let you know the shadow phase is beginning. Mercury is slowing down, and we're just being called to pay attention to what we want to get done, trying not to put too many new things on our plate, keeping it simple, but then also going, okay, where do I want to put my focus? Because this is the time to think about that, because then it will just feel a little bit harder to get that focus as we move down the month. Then we're into the second week of September, and on September 14th, I really quickly want to touch on Mars will enter into Libra. Now, the reason that this is significant is because Mars is going to be a very, very active planet, especially in October. It is kind of like the star of the show. In early October, Mars will align with the Sun, and they'll sort of travel together for most of the month. So big Mars energy. Mars energy is high energy. It's about conquering our fears. It's motivational. It's about, kind of pushing forward. Whenever we have strong Mars energy, we can feel a burst of inspiration and a burst of motivation. But on the other hand, we can also feel burnt out if we do not manage our energy levels properly. So I just want to put that in there, because Mars moving into Libra is going to be a big theme coming up. And so from September 14th, again, really thinking about your energy levels. What do you want to give your energy to? What don't you want to give your energy to? This is a time to kind of have those conversations with yourself. So a little bit of a theme here as we move from Mercury going into its shadow phase, and then on the 7th, and then on the 14th, we've got this Mars moving into Libra, preparing for all these big cosmic activations that will happen come October. So we're really thinking about, how do I want to manage my energy? How do I want to manage my energy levels? What do I want to give my energy to? And then on September 20th, we have the Pisces full moon. This is a very sensitive full moon falling in the sign of Pisces, very, very connected to our emotions, especially our deeper emotions. We might be feeling extra sensitive. We may be feeling emotions that we thought we had buried or tucked away rising up to the surface. This is a very sensitive time. Whenever we have a sensitive full moon like this one, it is also highly intuitive. We might feel very, very connected to our intuition, or very connected to our psychic energy. Paying attention to your dreams and those little nagging feelings is always important, but super important under this Pisces full moon. So that happens on the 20th, but we'll really start feeling that energy probably about 5 days before. So Mars will move into Libra, activating some of this, energy, getting ready for those big energetic alignments. And then kind of after that day, we'll start feeling that full moon energy, which will blossom into its full potential on September 20th. Full moons are a time of energy pushing outward. So if we think of new moons are the inhale, energy coming in, full moons are the exhale, energy going out. So we may start thinking about things that we want to clear out, things that we want to release and let go of, especially on an emotional level, because Pisces is so connected to our emotions and our emotional body. Neptune is very active under this new moon and full moon, and whenever Neptune is active, it can create a little bit of fogginess. It can create a lack of clarity. If we think of our mind wanting to be really clear and seeing things in a linear fashion. Neptune is sort of the opposite of that. It wants us to kind of get out of that linear way of thinking and enter into a more creative, soft, flowing, responsive state of mind. And when that happens, it can be really beautiful and it can be really creative and great energy to use if you want to work on a creative project or write a creative story, or anything in the arts is, really favored. But if you want to try and make some decisions, if you want to try and get some clarity on things, if you want to try and, think clearly about something, it can be really challenging. And Neptune creates this sort of foggy energy that blocks us from being able to see with clarity. But what it does in return is that it heightens our intuition. So yes, we cannot see with our eyes, but we can see with the eye. And so it's a real power time for connecting with your intuition. And if things do feel foggy, if the path ahead is not clear, you know that you can go within, you can go into your intuition and source clarity in that way. Our intuition will be our guide. And if you've ever worked with your intuition, it's very often it's a feeling, it's a knowing, it's, we might get very direct linear messages from our intuition, but usually it's more about entering into a state of openness. So try and find that kind of open, not needing something tangible, being okay with that under this full moon energy. And then a couple of days after the full moon on September 22nd, 23rd, so that will depend on your time zone, we enter into Libra season and we experience the equinox. This is a big turning point of energy. The equinox is a time where we have equal hours of night and day. It is also kind of symbolizes the halfway point on the astrological wheel. So we get a shift in energy. We've kind of reached the halfway mark and now we're traveling in a different direction. Energy is flowing in a different way. And we can see this mirrored in Mother Earth. If you're in the northern hemisphere, energy starts being drawn inward with this, season of fall or autumn. If you're living in the southern hemisphere, you can see this in Mother Nature too. Energy starts being pulled outward with spring, things blossoming, things growing. So we're feeling this energy shift and we're noticing it in the world around us as well. And the equinox is also a power time for connecting with the healing energies of the earth. So definitely around that equinox day, so if it falls on the 22nd, around the 21st, if it falls on the 23rd, around the 22nd, you want to be out in nature. Right before the equinox, it is believed that the ley lines of the earth, the energetic grid of the earth, comes into harmonious alignment, and we can absorb that harmony, we can absorb that healing power of nature if we're out in nature, spending time in nature, connecting with nature in a conscious way, setting intentions to fill ourselves up with the energy of Mother Earth. So equinoxes are a power time to receive healing from our planet. It's a time where we are experiencing a shift in energy. And this is not just on a looking at nature, it's also through the placement of the sun. The sun is moving out of earthy, grounded Virgo into the air sign of Libra, which is all about balance and connecting with others and our relationships and how we relate self and other. These are all themes that can come up under Libra season, but the big one is balance. How do I create balance in my life? And you might really be feeling this because remember, we're having that strong Mars energy starting to build, and that Mars energy can sometimes lead us to burnout. And then we also have Mercury going retrograde, and this happens on the 26th. And again, this might be highlighting where we want to give our attention, what we want to be focusing on, how we want to be spending our energy. These are things that are going to keep questions that are going to keep coming up for us all through the month. So working with that beautiful equinox energy, and as always, I will have a ritual for you. Again, you'll just have to kind of keep an eye on foreverconscious.com because I will be updating articles all through the month. So let's talk about this retrograde, because that is sort of the last big cosmic energy that we have happening in the month. That's on September 26th. Mercury retrograde is a time where, so Mercury is the messenger planet, and when it enters retrograde, what that means is that it looks like Mercury is traveling backwards from our vantage point here on Earth. And when that happened, the ancients believed that Mercury was moving through the underworld, so our subconscious. Mercury is the messenger planet. When it's moving forward, it's sending us messages, it's communication, it's helping us to think clearly and logically about things. When it moves backwards in this retrograde fashion, it's traveling through our subconscious mind. And our conscious mind, it's not as active in our conscious reality. It moves into our subconscious a little more and unearths messages that we might have missed or skimmed over the first time. So Mercury retrograde kind of gets a bad reputation, but really all it is doing is helping us to connect with our subconscious and with the messages that we may have looked past or looked over or looked away for whatever reason. And so Mercury helps that come to light. If you have been dealing with balls in the air since June of this year, or if things have felt like, because we had a very, very, very strong Mercury retrograde in June, you might actually find that clarity comes as this Mercury retrograde cycle begins. It's kind of weird. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but sometimes when we have mishaps or when we take action on the previous Mercury retrograde, by the time Mercury goes retrograde again, new insights can come up, new information can come up. So if you had some sort of clunky Mercury retrograde activity happening in June, you might notice some sort of further information being revealed to you in September under this particular retrograde. So pay attention to that if you notice that. So this is a time where we're being called to go within. We don't want to put necessarily anything new on our plate. We want to just focus with what we're already working on, and we want to focus on following our intuition, moving slow and paying attention to any messages or signs or things that might come up into our awareness. Mercury retrograde can sometimes bring delays and miscommunications, but remember, how can you look at these as messengers from your subconscious? And when you think about it that way, it can become a very empowering time rather than a time to be frustrated about. Once Mercury goes retrograde on the 26th, we'll have a total of, I think it's 6 planets in retrograde. That is a lot of retrograde energy. So this kind of sets up the theme of everything slowing down, of, feeling like you might have to take a couple of steps back in order to move forward, feeling like you can't move forward, or there's just too many unseen obstacles at the moment to know how to progress ahead. That can definitely be the feeling, but that is going to be a short-lived feeling, because then once we flip over into October, boom, 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 we have a lineup of planets starting to move direct, starting to shift out of retrograde, kind of one after the other. And that's also partly why October is a very, feels to be a little bit more of an intense month, because there's just so many shifts of energy. October is really going to be a high intensity, high moving month. And so again, we might start feeling that as we get to the end of September, or we might just be feeling that kind of slowdown of energy and wondering, is this going to end? Well, yes, it will. October will push things really, really fast in a forward moving direction. So try and enjoy the slower pace that September brings. Try to really manage your energy levels, really think about what you want to focus on. Try and get the things, or new projects, new ideas, all sort of out there in the first part of the month, because as we get into closer to Mercury moving retrograde, it gets a little harder to find the clarity that's needed to push new projects out into the world. So you want to try and do that all in the first part of the month. So I hope that's helpful. I hope you've enjoyed this monthly forecast. As I've mentioned, you can find more at foreverconscious.com. I write articles about the new moon, full moon. I'll offer rituals for both of these. I'll also be offering articles, the articles specifically talking about this Mercury retrograde as well, and Equinox, along with the Equinox ritual. So keep checking the site, because I will be updating written forecasts on there too, which generally come with some sort of exercise that you can do to kind of take all this information and integrate it into your world, into your reality. So I hope that's helpful. Just quickly reminding you guys that the moon calendar for 2022 is available. It's on Etsy. I know it's a bit early to think about 2022, but I am trying to get these out early because I will be going on maternity leave, and I don't know how I'm going to ship them when the baby's here. So if you're interested, please get ahead of that. Order them. There's a very, very limited quantity. Hopefully by the time you're watching this video, if it's the end of the month, there are still some available. I'll put the Etsy link below if you want to learn more about what's included and the artwork for the moon calendar. All right, I am Tanaz from foreverconscious.com. You have a wonderful, safe month, and I'll be back next month, hopefully, baby permitting, to give you your October forecast. Thank you.